At first glance, it looks like any other luxury leather product. Smooth surface, precise stitching, a quiet sense of exclusivity, the kind of item displayed behind glass, carrying a price tag that can reach into the thousands of dollars. But what if the story behind this leather is far less familiar? This material doesn't come from a common farm animal or a mass-produced supply chain. It comes from a wild source most people never associate with high-end fashion, the jackal. So how does the hide of an elusive wild canine make its way from regulated environments into elite workshops and luxury markets? The journey from raw hide to finished product is not simple, fast, or cheap. It involves strict legal oversight, specialized handling, and craftsmanship designed for materials that are rare, fragile, and difficult to work with. Every step adds cost, risk, and value. In the world of luxury manufacturing, price is not driven by appearance alone. It is shaped by scarcity, labor intensity, and the story embedded in the material itself. Understanding how an uncommon wild hide becomes a high-value product offers a revealing look into how modern luxury is defined, not just by what we see, but by everything that happens before the final polish. Jackals are wild canines found across parts of Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. Smaller and more elusive than wolves, they have adapted to a wide range of environments from open grasslands to semi-arid regions. For most people, jackals are known through wildlife documentaries, not through luxury storefronts. Yet in rare cases, jackal hide has appeared within highly specialized corners of the leather industry. This is not a material used in mass production. Its presence is limited to tightly regulated, small-scale markets where supply is restricted and closely monitored. Because jackals are wild animals, any use of their hides is subject to legal controls that vary by region and time period, making consistent sourcing difficult and expensive. Luxury brands are often drawn to rare leathers for reasons that go beyond durability. Scarcity itself creates value when materials are difficult to obtain, challenging to process, and available only in small quantities. They support limited production runs and exclusive releases. Jackal leather also differs in texture and thickness from more common hides, requiring specialized techniques that further increase labor and cost. Just as important is the story. In luxury markets, narrative and provenance can matter as much as the finished appearance. This topic matters today because the luxury materials industry is under growing scrutiny. Consumers, regulators, and brands are asking harder questions about where materials come from, how they are sourced, and whether their use aligns with modern ethical standards. Discussions around wildlife protection, legal compliance, and sustainable alternatives are reshaping what is considered acceptable in high-end manufacturing. Examining how uncommon wild materials enter niche luxury markets helps explain the tension between tradition, exclusivity, and responsibility in today's global fashion industry. The journey of jackal leather begins long before any cutting or stitching takes place. The sourcing phase is the most tightly controlled step in the entire process. Because jackals are wild animals, the use of their hides is governed by wildlife protection laws and international trade regulations. Only specific, permitted sources may be used, and in some cases, materials come from historical stockpiles rather than ongoing supply. This legal oversight limits volume and adds complexity before processing even begins. Once a hide enters a licensed facility, preparation starts immediately. Raw hides are carefully cleaned to remove natural residue and then preserved to prevent deterioration. Unlike thicker livestock skins, jackal hide is naturally thin and delicate. Even small tears can make a hide unusable, so inspections focus on identifying weak areas early. Skilled handlers work slowly, minimizing stress on the material at every stage. The tanning process is where the hide is stabilized and transformed into usable leather. Standard methods used for common leathers are often unsuitable here. Instead, specialized tanning techniques are applied to protect fragile fibers while improving flexibility and strength. Precise chemical balance is critical to aggressive, and the leather becomes brittle, too mild, and it lacks durability or consistent color absorption. This careful calibration determines how the leather will age and perform over time. After tanning, finishing and crafting begin. Because each hide is small, leather workers plan cuts with extreme efficiency. There is little room for error. Artisans shape the material into compact luxury goods such as wallets, trim panels, or decorative accents rather than full garments. The final product reflects not just rarity, but the accumulated skill required to work with a material that allows no shortcuts. In the luxury materials world, value is not determined by strength alone. Jackal hide is a clear example of this principle. Compared to more common leathers, it is not chosen for superior durability or everyday performance. Instead, its appeal comes from rarity and the story attached to it. In high-end markets, narrative can significantly influence perceived worth, especially when a material is unfamiliar to most consumers. One factor that drives price is size. Jackal hides are small, which increases labor at nearly every stage of production. More time is spent inspecting, planning cuts, and assembling pieces from limited usable surface area. What might take minutes with a large hide can take hours with a smaller one. This labor intensity directly raises manufacturing costs, which are reflected in the final price of the product. Because of these constraints, Jackal leather is rarely used in mainstream fashion. It is typically reserved for limited edition releases or private commissions, where exclusivity is part of the appeal. Producing items in small batches allows brands to control quality and maintain the perception of scarcity. These products are often marketed to collectors rather than everyday consumers. When compared to common leathers such as cowhide or goatskin, production volumes are extremely low. While standard leather goods are made by the millions each year, Jackal leather items may only appear in dozens, or not at all, in a given production cycle. This low output reinforces their niche status within the industry. Together, these factors explain why some luxury products command prices far beyond their functional value. In this segment of the market, rarity, craftsmanship, and storytelling combine to transform a limited natural material into a high-value object. Quality control plays a central role when working with rare and delicate materials. Jackal leather undergoes multiple inspection stages, beginning immediately after preparation and continuing through tanning and final finishing. Technicians examine each hide for tears, thin areas, and structural weaknesses that could affect longevity. Because the margin for error is small, any defect can remove a piece from production entirely, further limiting usable output. Beyond physical quality, documentation is equally critical. Manufacturers handling wildlife-derived materials are required to maintain detailed records that track a hide's origin, processing history, and legal status. This paperwork helps demonstrate compliance with regional wildlife laws and international trade regulations. Audits and inspections are common, and failure to meet documentation standards can result in penalties or loss of authorization to operate. At the same time, the industry is facing increasing pressure to reconsider the use of rare wild hides altogether. Consumer awareness has grown, and questions about environmental impact and ethical responsibility are now part of purchasing decisions. As a result, some manufacturers are exploring alternatives, including lab-developed materials or discontinuing certain product lines entirely. This shift creates economic tension within the luxury sector. Traditional practices are often built around scarcity and exclusivity, while modern sustainability standards emphasize transparency, renewability, and reduced environmental impact. Balancing these priorities is challenging, especially for brands whose identity has long relied on rare materials. How companies respond to this pressure may shape the future of luxury manufacturing. Whether through stricter controls, reduced use, or complete replacement, quality and sustainability are no longer separate concerns. They are increasingly linked, influencing not only how products are made, but how they are valued by a changing global audience. Jackal leather products sit at a unique intersection of scarcity, regulation, and craftsmanship. Their high value is not created by appearance alone, but by a long chain of limitations and controls that shape every stage of production. Restricted sourcing, careful processing, and skilled labor all combine to turn a rare material into an object that commands exceptional prices in select markets. At the same time, these products reveal how the boundaries of the luxury materials industry are changing. What was once defined almost entirely by rarity and exclusivity is now being reevaluated through a wider lens. Legal oversight, ethical expectations, and environmental considerations are no longer secondary concerns. They are central to how luxury goods are produced, marketed, and judged. Jackal Leather's presence in niche markets reflects this transition. Its use is increasingly questioned, not only by regulators, but by consumers who want greater transparency and accountability. For some brands, continuing to work with such materials represents a commitment to tradition and craftsmanship. For others, it presents a challenge to adapt without losing identity or perceived value. Looking ahead, the future of rare material luxury may depend less on how difficult something is to obtain, and more on how responsibly it is handled. Innovation in materials, stricter compliance, and shifting consumer values are reshaping what exclusivity means in the modern world. In that sense, Jackal Leather is more than a product. It is a case study in how luxury evolves under pressure. As awareness grows, the definition of value itself may change, moving away from rarity alone and toward responsibility, transparency, and long-term impact. Asterisk.